There is a silence inside you that no one talks about, a quiet ache buried beneath the noise of everyday life. You wake up, you go through the motions, you speak, you laugh, you nod at the right times. But something deep inside you never quite rises with the rest of you. It stays curled in the dark, like a child hiding in a room where the door was never opened again. And no one notices. Not even you, most days. But at a night, or in those strange moments when the world goes still, it comes to the surface. That sudden emptiness. That strange sense of floating through your own life like a guest in a story you forgot how to write. And you wonder quietly, why does my life look real but feel so far away? This is not madness. This is not weakness. This is the mind that sleeps, not the brain that solves, memorizes, calculates, but the deeper mind, the old soul within you, the philosopher that once questioned everything until they were told to stop. You were born asking beautiful questions. Why does the sky make me feel something I can't name? Why do I hurt when no one has hurt me? Why does the world feel like both a prison and a miracle? But then came the teachers, the systems, the survival, the noise. And slowly, you learned to fall asleep with your eyes open. You put on masks to belong. You nodded to beliefs that were not your own. You called yourself names others taught you. You played roles and called it identity. And all the while, the philosopher in you, the one who sees deeper than the world allows, was pushed into a dreamless sleep. Forgotten, but not gone. Because even now, you feel the pull. A longing, a quiet hunger that has nothing to do with food or fame or even love. It's the hunger to wake up, to remember, to feel whole again, to meet yourself not as a role, but as a soul. So I ask you now, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and saw someone you truly recognized? When was the last time you asked not what should I do, but who am I really beneath all this? And what would happen if you finally dared to listen? You have walked through life carrying things no one could see, memories that never had a voice, fears that dressed themselves as logic, dreams that died quietly because you told yourself it was safer not to want too much. You did what you were taught. You survived. You adapted. You became the person others needed you to be. But somewhere in the process, you lost touch with the raw, aching wonder that once made life feel like a question worth asking. This is not your fault. The world was never designed to protect your soul. It was built to shape it. From the moment you were born, the world handed you names, identities, expectations. Be good, they said. Be useful. Don't cry so much. Don't think too deeply. Fit in. And so you did. You buried your chaos and called it maturity. You silenced your curiosity and called it discipline. You became efficient, acceptable. But in doing so, you learned to betray something sacred inside you. That part of you that wanted to scream at the stars. That wanted to fall apart just to see what was underneath. That wanted to walk into the woods and not come back until you'd heard something true. And now, even in your success, even in your calm, there is a hollowness. Not a problem to be solved, but a story left untold. You see, the mind that sleeps is not a lazy mind. It is a wounded one. A mind that has seen too much pain without meaning, that has carried the weight of others' beliefs without the light of its own. A mind that has learned to survive at the cost of being fully alive. In Jungian language, this is the exile of the self, the banishment of your deeper essence into the shadow. All that was too intense, too emotional, too sacred, too strange, You pushed it down. And now it calls to you through anxiety, depression, numbness, burnout. These are not disorders. These are doorways. Each symptom, a messenger. Each wound, a whisper. They are not here to break you, but to break the illusion that you are only what the world told you to be. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. The philosopher inside you is not dead, only waiting. It speaks in the way you feel drawn to quiet places, in the books you can't explain why you love, in the tears that rise when music touches something deeper than words. It speaks in your confusion, your loneliness, your sudden longing to disappear from everything and find something real. This is not madness. This is your soul remembering itself. The ancient wisdom traditions knew this moment well. In the hero's journey, this is the call to adventure, the refusal of comfort, the stirring of something wild beneath the surface. In myth, it is the moment the ordinary world begins to feel unbearable, and you know, without proof, that there must be more. But to step forward, you must first step inward, into the dark, into the forest of your forgotten truths, into the silence where the real questions live. Who am I? What do I long for beyond survival? What pain am I still carrying that was never mine? This is the beginning of awakening, not in some dramatic instant, but in the slow, aching realization that you are not broken. You are buried. And the excavation begins here. There is a truth you have avoided, not because you are weak, but because you are human. The truth is this: you abandoned parts of yourself to survive. You had to. You were young. You were sensitive. You felt too deeply in a world that rewards numbness. So you learned to shrink, to silence your questions, to disown the wildness in your heart. And over time, you built a life around that silence, a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels like a prison of invisible bars. And the worst part is, you forgot you were even in a prison. You started calling your fear logic. You called your anxiety ambition. You called your exhaustion responsibility. You wore your masks so well that even you believed them. But late at night, when no one is watching, you feel it. That ache in your chest that has no name. That pull toward something ancient and buried. That flash of rage or sadness or desire that rises like a storm before you push it back down. This is your shadow speaking. The Jungian shadow isn't evil. It's simply the part of you you were told not to be. Your anger, your power, your creativity, your sensuality, your strangeness, your longing for something more. You were taught to hide these parts. You were told they would make you unlovable. But hiding them didn't make them disappear. They only went underground, into your body, your habits, your relationships, your voice that trembles when you want to speak. And now you're haunted by ghosts of your own disowned self. The truth is this: your suffering is not random. It's a map. Depression is not a malfunction. It's a rebellion of the soul against a life too small for it. Anxiety is not weakness. It's your inner fire trying to burn through the lies. Numbness is not failure. It's protection from a world that once hurt you too much. But now, the protection has become the problem. The mask has become a cage. And if you want to awaken the philosopher within you, you must do something terrifying. You must look at what you've been running from. You must turn inward and face the child you abandoned. You must listen to the part of you that still cries at night when the world gets quiet. You must let yourself feel the grief of all the years you've lived without truly living. This confrontation is not an act of violence, it is an act of love. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to remember yourself, to gather the lost pieces of your soul and say, "Come home." Yes, it will hurt. Awakening always does. The mind that sleeps dreams of safety, but the mind that awakens dreams of truth. And truth demands courage, the courage to feel, to question, to break the rules you were taught to obey without ever asking why. You may lose friends. You may walk away from the life you spent years building. You may outgrow people who loved the version of you that never said no. But you will gain something greater. You will gain yourself. And in doing so, you will discover that you were never empty. You were full of unlived life. You were never broken. You were just hiding. You were never alone. Your soul was always waiting for you to return. And now, the philosopher within you is stirring, not to debate or to argue, but to feel, to wonder, to remember what it means to ask a question that doesn't have an answer and still feel at peace. This is the confrontation your soul came here for. And once you face it, nothing will ever be the same again. And now, something shifts, quietly, like the first breath after a long cry. You don't need to fight anymore, not to prove your worth, not to outrun your past, not to wear masks so heavy they choke the sound of your own voice. Because here, in this stillness, you remember something you forgot long ago. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real. The philosopher within you was never a role to play. It was your essence all along. The one who questions not to destroy, but to understand. The one who feels deeply, not because they are weak, but because they are awake. And awakening is not a violent act. It is the slow, sacred return to the self you abandoned to survive. You begin to see now the beauty in your scars. They are not marks of failure, but places where the light tried to enter when the world gave you darkness. Your pain was never a punishment. It was an invitation, a call to go deeper, a path through the fire so you could emerge reborn. You start to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet truths inside you. You notice how your body tenses when you're not being honest, how your spirit dims when you betray your own values. And with this awareness comes power, not the kind the world worships, but the kind that cannot be taken from you. The power to choose, to create, to say, "This is who I am," even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if no one claps. You realize that awakening isn't about becoming someone new. It's about peeling away the layers of fear, shame, and expectation that were never yours to carry. It's about returning to the center of yourself, where the soul has been waiting patiently, whispering in dreams, calling through silence. You begin to forgive, not just others, but yourself. For all the ways you had to hide, for all the times you silenced your truth to keep the peace, for all the years you wore a smile to cover the ache. And in that forgiveness, there is healing, not dramatic, not instant, but slow and sacred, a quiet rebuilding of trust between you and your own heart. And now you understand what the ancient teachers meant when they spoke of dying before you die, when they spoke of the ego's death and the soul's birth. You begin to feel the difference between the mind that reacts and the mind that reflects, between knowledge and wisdom, between surviving and truly living. The philosopher within you is not some distant ideal. It is the most human part of you, the one who sees through illusion, the one who holds pain in one hand and wonder in the other, the one who walks through suffering and still dares to love the world. This is your awakening. It won't be loud, it won't be perfect, but it will be yours. You may cry. You may sit in silence for hours. You may write things you never dared to say. You may finally look in the mirror and see someone you recognize, not because you changed who you are, but because you returned to who you've always been. And that is the real miracle. Not fixing, not achieving, but remembering. So let this be your gentle beginning. Let this be the day you say yes, not to the world's version of you, but to the truth that's been waiting inside all along. The mind that sleeps has served its purpose. It kept you safe. But now it's time to wake. And the first step is simple. Listen, not to the voices outside, but to the quiet one within. The one that whispers, "You are ready now. You always were." So now, breathe, slowly, deeply, as if this is the first breath you've taken in 100 years, as if you've just returned from a long journey inside yourself. And in a way, you have. No, nothing outside has changed. The world is still loud. The days will still ask much of you, but something inside is different now. A little more awake, a little more honest, a little more alive. You are no longer a stranger to your own soul. You've looked into the mirror of your shadow and didn't look away. You've asked questions that can't be answered and found peace in asking them anyway. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real healing begins. Not in having it all figured out, but in allowing yourself to be a beautiful, unfinished story. A question mark walking through the world with open hands. So go gently now. Carry what you found here like a flame in your chest. Let it guide you when the nights get long. Let it remind you that even in silence, you are never truly alone. Because the philosopher in you has awakened, and from now on, you will never sleep the same again.